house. Millions. Actually, less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we'll make it great again.
And 8 years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Thursday night, the 3rd of May, 10:39 p.m. Logging in, looking to do something that I've never done before, and that's to live stream 2 nights in a row. And so looking to basically just ramp it up a little bit, and so I'm on a timer now, so trying to do things more consistently. So want to make it short, sweet, and concise, as well as just get more people engaged and crank it up just a little bit. So as always, clock is ticking down now, so in 30 minutes we're going to log off. So I want to get as much chit chat as I can in, as well as just answer as many questions as I can, and have people call in at the 10-minute mark to share whatever's on their mind via the telephone lines. And so as you see, 1-833 live RTD. So I'm real curious to see some of the thoughts about that post I did earlier in regards to what I could call the cycle of life. And so I'm going to definitely touch on some of those comments that were left for that video there, and go from there. So I also want to apologize. Last night ran into some audio problems, and so one of the last little pieces to this video here, just some miscommunicate or some glitches on my end, where I was apparently talking and no one can hear me. So after the fact, I realized that I was talking and no one can hear me. So, and all you heard was the sound of water running. So as always, give it a minute or two before I dive into just what's happening and find out what might have taken place in the media today that I was not aware of. And so the good thing about having a great and in-tuned audience is that a lot of people tend to keep their ears to the streets, as well as their eyes out and about in the media sense, to be able to share stuff here. So that's one thing that's great about having such a very in-tuned viewership with RTD Live Talk. So as more people log on, if you are a new viewer, new subscriber to the channel, as always, I welcome everyone in the first couple minutes to basically join the chat. Let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in at, and whatnot. Love to find out where people are actually watching this from. So far, I've been amazed at how this channel has, as it's grown, more people outside of the United States of America have found out about it and tune in. And so it's and on the other side of the earth, it's early morning, so may not get too many viewers, but we're known to have a few. So Nikolai Smith from Kentucky. Nikolai, that's an interesting state with all that pension stuff going on there. I've covered some news stories on the whole the march back in April that took place. A lot of people pissed off about the reform or possible pension benefit cuts. So something that a lot of people should take note of, because we're going to hear more of the word reform in the next couple months / years, because that's the politicians' way of saying we can't live up to our obligations, so we need to reform, or basically cut back on some of our expenditures, and that's ultimately going to leave on shorting those that are expected, some of those promises. So Diamond Heart from NYC, welcome. So as always, the goal is to basically get people to share whatever might have come across your media source today, whether it be from your phone, your tablet, whatever might have crossed your eyeway that you find to be informative. Please share in the chat or call in once we get to that 10-minute mark. And so I got Jeff Doris says, yeah, I read about the pension cuts for the teachers in Kentucky. Yeah, so it's Kentucky. I mean, that's in more and more states. So Kentucky is one of the states that's on the brink of pure insolvency as far as their pension fund there. Then you have, of course, Illinois is probably leading the way. Then we got California. Then we got Oregon. Then we have I think I read some Colorado, did a story on Colorado. So more and more states. And so here, right in the state of Michigan, we've actually gone through somewhat of a reform over the last couple of years, where basically the reform had to do with our government, for the most part, going to honor their prior promises, because they can't really reform that, because reform basically means to cut. So they really can't cut. And so what they're going to do, the reforming part, is just moving forward, all the new teachers and all the new public workers or whatnot get shafted. They get to basically have some modified version of an retirement plan, which is more of a defined or undefined benefit plan, where the employers have to contribute a little bit more, and or the employees have to contribute a little bit more, and the employers get a chance to get off the hook and not have to contribute as much. So basically they just put the responsibility on the people, which is what it should be in the first place. So what else we got here? It says things not going good, even worse in small government. In Kentucky, so much wasteful spending. Very true. Nikolai Smith, no more SS, no more Social Security. So is that some of the things they're proposing there, or what is that? Because I think a lot of people, especially the younger generation, according to my opinion, shouldn't really expect to get any type of payout. And if you do get a payout, as the video mentioned that I put yesterday, Alan Greenspan said there's no problem with making sure you get what you owed. You know, they're going to get you your numbers, but the question is, what can your numbers purchase? I'm a garbage man in East Kentucky. My wage just $12.67. Your pay was just $12.67. So, Nikolai, so are you retired, or are you currently working now? Or I'm assuming your retirement payment per month is $1,267. And so if that is the case, were you anticipating more? Okay, your pay is, okay, no. So Emperor Air say my pay is $17.38. And so pay, I'm not sure, is that your current wage, or that is your retirement payout that you're receiving monthly? Be a little bit more specific with that. So if you're a government worker, or state worker, or you can only draw a government retirement, no more XC2 or something, you're not eligible for Social Security. Really? So if you're a government worker, state worker, or you can only draw a government retirement, no more at 62 or 67, you're not eligible for Social Security. Interesting. That will be something else. If people get shafted on Social Security. And okay, so you're saying that people are not able to collect their Social Security, and so that right there definitely will piss a lot of people off, because if you put in and you paid, which everyone does out of the paycheck, then I would definitely be pissed. But see, that's the thing, over my working life, I of course put in what I had to, just because I have to, but put it in on some, just looking at it as a normal expenditure, not really anticipating getting that back. So even when I get my little statements in the mail saying what I'm owed, what I'm due, or what I could receive, I'm like, I don't really expect that in purchasing in dollars it's going to have any purchasing power. So I don't even pay it no mind. That's why I think it's so important really to be alternative minded and be more of an active investor for yourself. Basically, we're starting with some educational things, learning how to diversify yourself outside of the conventional automated things that take place on your behalf through your employer, or through whatever hedge fund or mortgage broker, or whoever you tend to use for your financial investing. Do it for yourself. Because my opinion is, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to be you're gonna be subject to taking a major blow if there's an economic downturn, or a stock market crash, or these bonds implode. So you're going to take a loss anyway. Why not lose your own dollar on your own knowledge and on your own investing knowledge? So that's just my philosophy. And imagine what kind of a time that would have drawn at $12.67 an hour. Not much. Yeah, I today read an article on Zero Hedge that was interesting. They had an article about 1,000 of vacant houses in Baltimore. Really, that's interesting. So yeah, man, that is going to be very interesting in the days ahead. So we are at the 20-minute mark. I wanted to scroll a little bit to the next segment of this. And the next segment will be just basically getting some of your thoughts for those that had a chance to view today's video in regards to the life cycle of life. What are some things that might have stood out, jumped out to you? And so I'm going to just basically find out what a couple people had to say here. It says, we got Jeff Doris. I just pay off all my monthly expenses for the entire year. Then I can just work when I want to work or be off when I want to be off. Tuesday this week, I spent the entire day at the beach with my family. We all don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Very good, Jeff. That's a beautiful thing, my friend. Darren Bensley, first, they created the Great Depression so they can introduce more income tax and tax the sole breadwinner. So, yeah, as always, caller, please hold off until that 10-minute mark. And so hold off to that 10-minute mark if you don't mind, so I can try to get through some of the format here as I experiment with it. And also, please share with me your thoughts on this format here. Want to get more stuff done. Unfortunately, they do not teach a single concept of taxes in my wasted time in school. Obviously, I did not study any financial courses, which might have been different had I only presumed. Yeah, it's another thing. Like some of those things in our life cycle, whether it be taxes, investing, just those things should be mandatory. Since everyone has to pay it, why would you not teach kids how to teach, our youth how to manage their own money directly? Why you have to hire somebody or turn your money over to some fund and some stranger to run your money for you? So that's an idea that that just lets you know that the whole idea was not to give people knowledge that they could actually use and to benefit them. And so if you wanted the benefit, you gotta go get a tax attorney, and you gotta go get a CPA, and go get a CFA, and go get all them, all that crazy crap. It says 1 Timothy 6:8-7. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these 9. Those who want to be rich, however, fall into temptation. It says, and we navigate our way through this world. Let us not forget who it currently belongs to. Keep you, yeah. So Will, that's a good one, my friend. So Will, if you have a chance to watch this, that life cycle was actually brought to mind when I was reading the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 24-33, and that's one of my favorite parts in regards to the gospel itself, because Jesus talks about the idea of not being dependent upon and worrying about sustaining your own life. He says directly that if you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all things will be added unto you. So I'm thinking about, like, what are we doing in this life? What is this life about? If we work, we pay taxes, and then we live and enjoy our youth and our kids, and then we die. And so many people right now in the baby boomer generation are really struggling with the whole pension and retirement concept. That's a major problem that's brewing right now. And I'm thinking, like, what is this life about? And then that's when the Holy Spirit put in my mind the importance of not getting caught up in this race. And predominantly in that bottom right section where it talks about our monetary units. Like, everything we do for the most part is because we need money. We need money to function. We need money to live. I mean, we need a currency to interact in this world. So I'm thinking about the idea that inflation is going to eventually spike up to the point where it's going to be very tough to live, especially if you have a family and all those bills. And I'm like, this is all because of the monetary units being, a problem. I'm trying to think of a word to use, but I want to say a cancer. Basically, the Federal Reserve Note has become a cancer because it's drained the American people of everything they have. It's indebted our nation, and it's enslaved our children. So, but yet, Holy Spirit told me, don't worry, because if I seek first the kingdom, all things will be added unto me. So that was very encouraging, and man, it got me fired up in my spirit. So I came to mind. I'm like, let me go ahead and draw this up real quick and share this with people. It says taxes and insurance, you can be debt free, but they can still make you poor. And here's another thing. This is another comment from Low Tech. The whole idea of being debt free. You can never be debt free because your currency is your government's obligation, your government's debt. Our government, the United States government, owes that money back to the Federal Reserve. So you can never be debt free. That's one thing that really trips me out. So we have all these financial gurus out here talking about, I'm debt free. Predominantly speaking of Dave Ramsey, but that method of information is useful until you get rid of consumer debt. But once you're done with consumption debt and you understand monetary units, you got to realize that you can't really continue to trust in your primary national currency because it is a debt. So you can't be debt free in that regard there. Only way you could be debt free is back prior to the Coinage Act of them removing metal from gold and silver from our circulation. That was the people's money directly. We can go to the Treasury, have it minted, all that good stuff. So says what we've reprogrammed. Now we're living like vending machines. Better yet, we're like vending machines, forced to run a treadmill. Better yet, hamster wheel. So a lot of great comments there. A lot of very good comments. Very good comments there. Right on. What's the point? Or Dad, what's the point? The point is this gives you a visual representation of probably more than likely what your life looks like. You went to school to get a job, to contribute whatever it is you have to the workforce, to receive a monetary unit is depreciating rapidly, and it's about to really be cranked out. And then you do all that because you have to sustain your livelihood. You got to live. You got to live. You want to live good, of course. So you need more of that stuff, the more of that more monetary units to actually exist. But then you turn around and pretty much do the same cycle again. And then we teach our kids to do the same thing. So there's a disconnect there. The education no longer is suitable for the economy we enter in. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Yeah. But as we move on, I want to definitely get back to the chat a little bit. So let me see what we have going on here. Get back to the chat just a little bit. So what's happening in the chat? I've been missing a couple of things. So what we have here, Jeff Doors, yeah, it's true actually that more people, more dollars globally than inside the U.S. Most of the dollars are just digits on a computer screen. It does not even really exist at all. True. It's just a debit and a credit in somebody's computer system. It says your currency is what the people believe in, not what the government tells us to believe in. John Mitchell, very true. And typically, people never really question their currency or anything of that nature until there's a problem with it being, people wanting to accept it or not wanting to accept it. Inflation takes our purchasing power away. Yeah, it does. And the main thing is it takes away our purchasing power. But yet most people don't look at the actual. Most people don't actually look at the actual. They can't pinpoint why the cost of living is going up. The idea now that you need, or it's ideal now, it's common now to have two incomes, on the verge of probably needing a third pretty soon. We probably gonna end up needing to put our kids to work the way the costs are going up, because wages, people always say the wages are keeping up. Well, the wages are keeping up nominally, but they're not keeping up in regards to what they can purchase. So, wages will never keep pace with inflation. And that is a very unfortunate truth. So the only way you can actually do some things differently is to, as what's also been in my mind is the fact that, I'm in the world, but I'm not of it. And so I really been just the words opt out. If I could opt out of a lot of things in that life cycle of life, I would definitely consider it, because A, it'll save money, and B, it'll help me reprioritize my life and to, really focus on what's important. And the things that are important tend to be on that upper left side, where it talks about relationships, family, and just enjoying, the fruits of your labor, with whatever it is you enjoy, whether it be vacations or whatnot. So those are things that I'm more focused on now myself, but that's that. So once again, I appreciate everybody calling in. I'm sorry to reject your calls, but want to make sure I get to the chat a little bit, and then at that 10-minute mark, we can open up. But better yet, since we got people calling, I don't want to just keep rejecting everybody's calls. So let me go ahead and open the phone lines up. So, hello, caller.
Yeah, hello, RTD TV. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, my friend. 1 second. Cut my volume up a little bit, make sure I can hear you. What's your name? Where you calling from, buddy?
Yeah, this is Nicholas Smith there, calling you from Kentucky. We was chatting there earlier, and I just wanted to get on there and just let the people know, even back here, and I do a lot of travel, and I just see so much going on in the United States, so much infrastructure going down, wasteful spending, and I don't think people really realize what kind of situation we're perhaps sooner than later.
All right, so I apologize, but I switched speakers because I thought I could use a different speaker. So the very last part I did not catch. I'm sorry for that. Can you repeat that if you don't mind?
And I've been watching your show and stuff, and I was just wanting to warn the people that I see it where I'm at. And I was just wondering if other people could call in and give us like a description on how the economy is around where they live at, because it seems like everyone's broke, everyone's maxed out on their credit cards, and it's happening again, just like 2008, because I'm 38 years old, and I can remember 2008. I was part of the problem. I had a bunch of credit, and then I got it straightened up, and then they let you have it again, and then, it's the same route, and I'm just wondering if other people around my age are seeing it happen again, you know what I mean? Even though it was just in 2008, but I can see it happening, and just like writing on the wall.
Yeah, I agree completely. And so there's so many stories I come across where you see the subprime is back now, zero down zero down, for anything now. So if you basically got a pulse and you have a income of any kind, you can get qualified for some type of loan. So we got the payday loans are booming again, subprime loans for housing, the automobiles. Now you can drive out with a car and keep the car for damn near half a year and not pay a single penny. And so all that, you know, basically you can, and what really trips me out is the idea that you can finance a phone. You can buy the new iPhone 10 and, you know, finance it through your cell phone company. So you have so many people who are here living a finance life, and they don't seem to remember that's what led to the last problem we had.
And this is another short story. My mom, I'm 38. My mom's about 62 years old. And I was born during Ronald Reagan years. And she said she was a single mother living in Columbus, Ohio. When she went to get a used car during Ronald Reagan time, she said the interest rate on a used car was like 13 or 14%, and you'd have to have like a quarter of the money down before you could even get in a vehicle. And people don't understand that this Federal Reserve on this 0% interest, that's what pays the United States subsidies. And that 0%, we're not earning no money. Back in Ronald Reagan's times, the Federal Reserve was getting, imagine 13% on a car, 18%. And that money was going to the Federal Reserve to pay in on Social Security, retirement, things that we're losing today because of the interest rates being so low. And people don't understand that when you can drive out in a car with 72 months, zero down, that's just like a free, you know what I mean? That the government ain't making no money, and today was the 3rd of the month, and I work every day, and it's the busiest day of the month around here because you've got so many people on subsidies around here, and I don't know where they're getting the money at, you know what I mean? Because the Federal Reserve is print for nothing, nothing.
Yeah, and that's the system we're in. But listen, I appreciate you calling in. I want to take some more calls, but thank you. And of course, people hear you, so they'll chime in as we go. So appreciate you for the call, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Michael? This is Alaska Prepper. I'm calling from Alaska.
Alaska Prepper, my friend. How you doing? How are things up in Alaska? I believe Alaska is very expensive. I think you mentioned that, or somebody told me that before.
Yeah, Alaska is really expensive. Actually, regular gasoline up here is about $3.35 a gallon.
Man, yeah. Woo, baby.
And the price of food, man, I'll tell you what. When I go to the supermarket, every time I go, I'm amazed. I'm like, how do people survive up here?
Yeah.
With as much as the food cost up here. It's pretty crazy.
Now, are you from Alaska originally, or you moved there for work, or how'd you get in Alaska? I've never been there.
I actually, I was actually in the military, and my last duty station was here in Alaska, and I liked it so much that I decided to retire up here.
Really? Interesting. Now, I know one thing with Alaska, they have a lot of government subsidies as far as like, not like what is it called? Like, basically you get grants and get not food support, but they get paid like you guys get. I mean, the locals there.
Oh, it's called a PFD. It has to do with the oil.
Okay.
With the oil that Alaska sells.
Now, so do you know what's that?
Yeah. What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say. So, do you know what those monthly subsidies are? Or is it it's a payout, right? I mean, it's the benefit that people receive, but it's just the locals there, the indigenous people, or is it everybody, or what's that like?
As long as you're a resident of Alaska and you've lived here for over a year continuously, you qualify for it.
Wow.
And what it is the money that they get from the profits of selling the oil in Alaska, they put a portion of it in a trust, and that portion goes to the citizens of Alaska, or the residents, the permanent residents of Alaska. And it's an annual payout. Every year it's a different payout depending on what they earned the previous year.
Yeah.
And like I say, every year is a different payout, and it's really not that much. Like this last year was $1,022.
Really?
And of course that gets taxed by the government, so by the federal government. So it's not as much as some people may think it is.
Yeah, man, that's so it sounds like a good idea. So basically, it could be considered universal basic income. That's what it kind of sounds like it could be. Like it could be in that category because it's free money off profits, but then you get taxed on it. So, but hey, I appreciate you calling in.
I would say,
Go ahead.
Let me just
finish
finish one quick thing.
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
say it's not really universal basic income because the money's not coming from the taxpayers.
Okay,
It's coming from actual resources from the state.
Yeah.
But hey, Michael, I wanted to say something real quick before you let me go.
Go ahead.
I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No problem.
There's something that a lot of people aren't realizing, and it's that the price of food is going to skyrocket. If you take a look on the web and take a look at all of the crop losses that we've had this year and last year, you're going to see that there's been massive losses, and it's not being covered in the mainstream media. So in addition to inflation making the price of food and commodities go up, the scarcity of food, of grains, is going to go up exponentially within the next couple of years because of all of the food crop losses we've had. So I know that you have a large following, so I wanted to put that out there so that people can open up their minds and take a look at what's going to happen to our resources as far as food goes, because that's going to be a big problem in the future.
Yeah.
So, hey, having said that, man, I'll let you go because I know you got a lot more people that want to call in. Hey, thanks a lot for everything you do, by the way.
I thank you for that information from out in your area. So I've definitely learned a lot from you. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Enjoy your evening, buddy.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow, interesting. Yeah, that's a wealth of knowledge right there, my friend. I learned something about Alaska. Have yet to go there, but to hear about that payout there not being much, but then it being taxed, and then the agriculture about their heads have some problems, food prices going up. Yeah, so those are all things, you know, as far as just the increased cost of living. So to go back to that cycle of life that I drew up, you know, that because of all the things at the bottom right with our monetary units and all the institutions involved with that, is going to cause a mighty uncomfortable adjustment to life on the left side, the lower left side of that chart, that in regards to just just the cost of living. So it's going to be a lot of tough decisions being made in the future as far as what you are willing to continue to fund. Such things such as, you know, like cell phone bills, cable bills. Of course, you need your lights, you need your gas. You know what I'm saying? I think in the near future, we're going to really be confronted with what is most important for us. And we're going to find out what we can and what we can't live without. And I know definitely from having been in various countries, I've had the privilege of visiting a lot of third world countries and being able to see what life is like in countries where they don't even have anything near what we have, but yet they're at peace with it because they don't know anything different. But imagine the shock we might experience where all we know is more than enough. And then to be brought down or to be humbled for some of us to just basically having the bare minimum. That's going to be a hell of a shock for a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm missing some things in the chat here. We got 1 in 7 Americans are now in food stamps, or 14% and rising. Just think about the old days when people stood in food lines. Yeah, Jeff, that's a good one now, because I believe apart from the electrical EBT cards, I think was it 33 million. Let me actually look that up real quick. 33 million Americans, I believe. 33 million Americans are recipients, if not more, of government aid, of just welfare in general. So actually, as we wind down, we can actually check it out for ourselves. So looking at the debt clock, for those that are not aware, is usdebtclock.org. Check it out; it's a valuable resource. But if you look, you can actually see what we got. It's on the U.S. public school, charter school, living in poverty. So look at the very bottom right. So we're down this area here, and so those living in poverty, 38 million people, 57 million on Medicare enrollees, 40 million on food stamps. And so there's 40 million people, according to the information gathered here, that's currently receiving government aid. So it can, I remember years ago there was a glitch with the EBT cards, and I remember I posted some videos a couple years ago about how people were rioting in Walmart. Like people had 1 or 2 carts full of food and got up there and the cars didn't work. Man, they started shoving, pushing, fighting, and slapping, and all because those cars didn't work, man. And that's, imagine 40 million people who base their livelihood upon every month being able to swipe a card as a way of their life. So, but one thing to take note of, look right next to food stamps, it says paper to silver ratio. And so 791 to 1. It says the number of paper silver ounces traded on the major world silver exchange divided by the actual world production of silver. So look at that. There's 179 to 1. So there's 179 contracts, whatever it might be called, per 1 ounce of silver. And if for gold, it's 75.82. So as you can see, the discrepancy between those numbers, it just basically says it's how much more silver is worth in comparison to anything else, gold-wise. Then you go up the chart a little bit. So as of now, 1 ounce of silver, according to all the paper units, or the M2 supply, basically, would equal to purchase 1 ounce. So basically all the paper and digits that have been put into existence has to one day account for every tangible asset. And as that video I mentioned yesterday with Greenspan, how he talked about the resources, he was like, it's not a question as to whether or not the cash will be available. It's going to be about, what can you actually buy as far as the resources. There's going to be a scarcity of resources. And then he's basically saying it's going to be hard for people to get a roll of toilet paper for an amount they can afford, basically, because those are scarce. It's only so many rolls of toilet paper that can be put on the shelf at a certain time, whereas there could be an unlimited amount of digits and paper brought into existence. So anyway, so let me keep moving forward. So the clock has expired, but I am having a good time. And so I know I rejected several calls. So if you are watching and you would like to chime in, you see the number 1-833 Live RTD. Feel free to call in, share what's on your mind, and trying to get as many people as possible. If you guys want to call in still, keep your comments and your thoughts short so we can have more people call in if that is the case. So I'll give it a couple more minutes. And so it's been great having a chance to have somewhat of a format, even though it's short, but yet the goal is to get as much as we can done in a short period of time, just because I found those hour-plus long live streams to be somewhat hard for people to actually digest, because, who really has time, an hour really, during your busy day, to sit back and watch a replay? Is one thing when it's live, you can actually talk and call in and be a part of the conversation directly now. So that's that. Let me see what else is going on here. It says, thanks for the info, Mike. I'm definitely preparing for the next recession. I know it's coming. Yep, it's a strategic metal, an industrial metal. The silver is probably the most undervalued asset on the planet right now. Rob Mack. I would agree. And so my philosophy, for those that have been watching for a while, people say, man, like, I don't have enough, or I need more. What should I have? And when you look at all the digits and paper that's put out from this country and every other country, you think about the fact there's $233 trillion worth of debt as of now, and so we're well over total GDP. So all those trillions of papers has to be accounted for in regards to what they can purchase in form of tangible goods. And so if you have silver being the scarcest natural metal, or just metal or element, period, that has a monetary and industrial usage case, you can good enough say that at the end of the day, if you have just 10 ounces down the line, you're going to be well off, I can imagine. Another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm calling from Hawaii.
Mike from Hawaii. How you doing, Mike? Good evening to you.
I'm doing great, and I don't have a question for you because I love what you do, and
Thank you.
I just want to say, keep up the good work. You're awesome.
My friend Mike, well, I appreciate that support, my friend. Thank you for sharing that with me, and I appreciate you for calling in Hawaii. You are, 5 hours behind? Or what's the time difference?
I don't know. It's 5:12 p.m.
So it's 5:12, and so you're 6 hours. So it's 11. So it's still early. You got some light outside. What part of Hawaii are you from?
Oahu.
Oahu, man. Yeah, I've yet to go to that island, my friend. So I know it must be nice out there.
You gotta come.
I definitely will. I will make plans to do that. I've over the last decade myself, I fell in love with the Caribbean / Latin American / South America flavor. So I tend to go there more than anywhere else. But Hawaii is on my to-do list. It's on my bucket list.
Well, great. I hope you come, and what you're doing is really important, and I really appreciate all your videos.
Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, and continue to support and to just view. And also, I love telling people, if you find this informative, please share it. And I try to make as many visual aids and books as possible so that everybody can have an angle to approach people to say, hey, just take a look at this. And if you find it informative, hey, you learn something. If not, dismiss it. But it will be brought to your front door one day, so you won't run from it, but like that. So, Mike, I appreciate it.
I agree, man. You're the best.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day out there.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hawaii, man. Sure would be nice to go to Hawaii right now. Here in Michigan, we're just starting to get some good weather. So I'm appreciating to walk outside and see the sun. Have another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Angel from Minnesota.
Hello, Angel from Minnesota. What's on your mind this evening? Appreciate you calling in.
Well, the thing is, I'm new to your channel, so I kind of don't know what most of your channel is about. But I'll plan on calling more often and when I get to know you more. But the thing is, you are a sweet man, and you definitely know what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm not sure if you're watching your screen right now. And so I just put up a my end of the show screen. But there, if you go to any of these resources here, whether it be the RTD University or the Dollarcation, where I put some visual aids together, or any of the channels that I share a lot of written as well as visual aids. I really encourage people to take a look at the visual aids because if you just grab one or two subjects off there and do some research for yourself, you'll really be amazed at the stuff that you'll find out that you weren't taught in school. So my motto is the best education is self-education. So I'm about telling people to think outside the box and rethink everything you were told or taught in school. So that's kind of my anchor that I hang everything on that I've done. So, but thank you for calling in and thank you for sharing that, my friend. I appreciate the love.
Yeah, really looking forward to more great content from you and such. Have a great rest of your night.
All right, you as well, buddy. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, man, that's nice. That's nice. It's nice to have new people call in and share their thoughts and whatnot. So, yeah, so as we are approaching the very end of the show, anyone just tuned in, we've had a very great 37-minute or so conversation. Had a couple people call in. That's great. I enjoy talking to people and hearing where everyone's from and them sharing their knowledge with us. And so definitely, those are in the chat. Definitely, if you find this informative, give me a thumbs up and share this. I see a Joshua mentioned about some Twitter followers. Joshua, I appreciate it, my friend. If you follow me on Twitter at Rethinking Dollar, I'll follow you back. And if you post stuff, I'd love to support you and share your information as well. So I believe we all should be supporting one another. And more importantly, one of the ways of thinking outside the box is to make sure you are involved in the crypto sector. And I think if you're on Steemit, you should definitely have a Steemit account because that's a way of getting crypto without having to actually spend cash for it. So if you post content, people will reward you for your work. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, it's Abby from Canada.
Hello, Abby from Canada. How you doing this evening?
Fine, thank you. First of all, I want to say I agree with the other callers, you are doing a fantastic job. Thank you for the information. It's nice to get the truth from a resource out there.
Thank you.
The second thing I wanted to ask you is this. So with regards to gold versus Bitcoin, and I think this is an argument that I'm just trying to get your perspective on this, but I understand how gold and silver are really, really good hedges against the fiat. That perfectly logical argument to that. But when it comes to gold versus crypto, I'm just looking at what's going on in the world as it is right now, and it just seems like in places where they've had economic catastrophes already, it seems that people are more running towards Bitcoin rather than gold, just because I guess maybe it's easier, the technology, anybody can get access to it. You don't have to pay as much. Like with gold, you would have to pay to insure to send it to somebody as payment and so on and so forth.
Right.
So just like what's your take on the whole gold versus crypto, or Bitcoin more specifically?
Okay, so
Thank you.
Very good question. Thank you for asking that. And I talk about it often for the most part. And so I personally, just to start off with saying, I've been very leery of the development of that alternative digital source that we have in the called Bitcoin blockchain, whatever it may be. Bitcoin being the first one that was introduced to us somewhat at the right time. So I always question its origin and where and what's the long-term goal for it. And so knowing that already, that the whole idea of our monetary system is to remove anything tangible out of our possessions. And so that plays into the removal of metals from our coins, the removal of metals from our possession in general, because if I'm sure you're familiar with the idea that gold in of itself was illegal to possess as a U.S. citizen since 1933 to 1974. So for 41 years, you couldn't own physical gold. So that should tell you how important it should be to everyone. But the fact it's not in our mindset anymore, and the fact that gold or Bitcoin happened to come on the scene at a time where we're already in an economic downturn, and it's catching everyone's attention, and the mainstream media is pumping it up. So I'm very curious as to what, how, and why. But because it is an alternative source as of now, I am I'm interested, and I do explore around with it because it is a viable, at this current time, option to have along with precious metals. But at the end of the day, gold and silver has been around. They've been around forever, and they're not going anywhere. And on a more serious note, it's actual money. And so gold and silver are actual money in my philosophy, and everything else is a claim towards it. So even Bitcoin and stuff like that, they're going to be claims to tangible assets, but yet gold in and of itself they are money rather. So I am a believer of the technology because it will be implemented. I'm curious as to where it came from and what will be the final blockchain that everyone's forced to use, because I believe the monetary powers that be will definitely not let this continue to grow without it being checked or monitored. So I believe if you have some, you're in good shape, but yet I would not put everything into it just because it's a new technology that no one is quite sure about at the end of the day. If that answers your question.
You made some very, very valid points. And if I may just kind of ask one follow-up question that came out of that.
Yeah.
So I understand the concern with regards of the roots of Bitcoin, how and everything. And yeah, I couldn't say one way or the other. I know what's out there and whatever. I can confirm one way or the other. But I guess my question is, despite the origins of the technology, if you look strictly at the protocol and at the technology itself, do you think that where it roots from has an impact on it? And if it does, how would it impact it?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, a very good one. So just the first thing that came to mind in reference to that position there, because that's a very valid point. And so my thought process is, if it's man-made, it could be man-manipulated. In regards to it, it's a I don't know how to code. I don't know the details down to the science of blockchain, but it's a technology that was created apparently within the last decade or however long by men, and it's a computer-based program of some kind, and so it's digits. And so if it's digits, I believe digits can be manipulated and controlled and hacked and stolen. And I mean, so many factors. There's so many third-party / counterparty risk with that particular, technology, because you need electricity, and of course off the grid, on grid, whatever, on the chain, off the chain, all that technical talk. But it was created by men. And so at the end of the day, because it's created by men, I don't put all my faith in the works of man's hands. I do for God. I'm a man of faith. So gold and silver are biblical. They've been around, and they're considered God's resources because they're on the periodic table. So I'm more of the believer that anything on the periodic table those things are what we all need flat out. Anything else are going to be claims to get those things. So that's kind of how I stand. But just because it's digits, I just feel like I'm very curious as to how this will all play out.
Thank you so much for answering my question. And I hope before you go to Hawaii, you come to Toronto. We're a lot closer to Michigan.
Yeah, Toronto. I've been to Toronto. I was in my younger years. I used to go there for your festival in August. So it's been a while, but I like Toronto. It's just been a while. It's been a while since I've been there.
You gotta come back to the North Pole. You gotta come back to the North Pole.
But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right. Hope I was of help to you. Just, of course, this is all my opinion. So, but I appreciate the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Good old Toronto. Yeah, speaking of Toronto, the Raptors, man, whew, they lost 2 games at home. That's not good for them. So, but it looks like we've been on the line now 45 minutes. So we are well past my 30-minute mark. So already I'm messing up trying to stick to a script. But I appreciate everyone who has called in. And I thank you for the questions. Definitely hope they were of use to you. And of course, this is all my opinion. So like always, I'm just sharing what comes to mind and what I feel led to share. So take none of this as truth. Take it all as if I'm lying to you, so that you can go do your own homework and do your own research. So, but before I let go, as you guys see on the screen, if you're new to RTD, make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share this if you can, so more people can join us and we can all learn from each other. And then also all those things that flash across the screen, whether it be my Facebook, whether it be the university page where, and once again, like I would say that out of all this RTD stuff, Rethinking the Dollar, the sources of information from that RTD university page are very, very valuable because they come from people who live this lifestyle. So I would say definitely take a look at that, and we can, chit chat again later on some other time, but 2 days in a row. So I'm kind of proud that I was able to put this together tonight. So thank you once again. Everybody enjoy your night, and I will see you guys later, and continue to share your thoughts on our cycle of life. Whatever come to mind last minute, share your thoughts on our cycle of life, because I'm going to look to add to it and really use that as a visual aid to get people to really begin thinking, like, this is your life. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you happy with all these angles? And so, yeah, that's just me. But anyway, everybody enjoy your night. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys later.